Hey all, Tony Bing here, hello and welcome back to the channel for another video for Marvel Strike Force. Now today I will be looking at Alliance Wars, and this is the first video I've actually done now that the first war is actually complete, and in that time myself and both my alliance learned an absolute ton about tactics you can use and strategy you can use, and I'm absolutely loving Alliance Wars. It's an awesome mode. For me, it's really mixed up the game a lot. The game is feeling very stale for me, and Alliance Wars has got me excited about theory crafting and trying to strategise again. In regards to the match that we played today, we have 3 alliances and we managed to win on each of them, which was pretty awesome. You can see our main alliance, Bing Brigade, it was exceptionally close, and it was just at the end we managed to pull through and win, and that was just by what, 24 points, 26 points actually, that we managed to win by, so exceptionally close. Now, as mentioned, during the course of the actual first Alliance War we learned quite a lot. So what I'll be doing today in this video is running over my top 10 tips that I reckon really help out players that are still struggling to find out the best setup to use and the best strategy to implement. So let's jump in and let's check them out. Now I will mention they're not in any particular order here. So if you're anything like myself, you've most likely been sitting on a lot of Blitz credits for quite some time with no new heroes coming to the store in an absolute age. I quite recently had 100,000, you can see I'm down at 8,000, but I had 100,000 and I just decided to open them all so we could then get some Ultimus orbs to actually open. But other than that, there's really nothing much to do with your credits until now. And this is something that's easy to overlook because it is in the Blitz tab and not in the War tab. So you'll notice we now have a defense boost, and this actually activates 3 turns of deflect for your defensive teams when you activate this, and it can be really helpful if you have a particular node or room you know that's about to be targeted, and you can put this on it and really bump up that particular team. Also within here you have the War Energy Refill, and this allows you to actually attack more often. The way it works at the moment is you can get 8 attacks in with your 24-hour period, but this will potentially allow you an extra 4 attacks, so you could attack 12 times in that 24-hour period. So it's really important that every day when you have your refreshes you spend this. It will cost you in total 1,725 Blitz credits, but the game really does throw them at you, so make sure you're buying these every time they are available. One of the biggest problems when it comes to Alliance Wars is trying to get 24 players all to coordinate and attack strategically. Now, you could sit on Discord all day and try and prompt people where to go, but it doesn't really sound that much fun. Now, the following tip is one that I actually only found out halfway through our first Alliance War. It's not really pointed out anywhere, I don't believe, in the starting guide, so I figured it was worth mentioning. So you'll see in the moment we've got a red border around the room on the left. There's a little blue button to the top right of that. I'll actually highlight that now. When you click on that particular button, it'll put a red border around that particular room. If we jump back to the main screen, you can now see that that particular room actually has a red target on it as well. So it is exceptionally important in Alliance Wars that you actually burn down particular rooms quickly, and you all choose to burn down certain characters quick as well, so you can start advancing through the helicarrier and finding the other rooms as a result of that. So this way you can help coordinate all your Alliance members, and once again you don't have to be sitting on Discord all day in order to do that, so make sure you do make use of this feature. So this here is a trap that we actually fell into ourselves in our first Alliance War, and we have learned from this. So you have the base shield teams that you're able to drop in. Now, we were just dropping them in randomly into rooms. Some players were putting them at the end, some were putting them at the middle, and some were actually putting them at the start. Now, the way the majority of teams you fight against will work is they'll clear one room and then they'll start working their way down the map, or they'll clear even one player and start working their way down the map. So they may actually leave some of the easier shield teams. The majority of alliances, I imagine, won't actually be completely defeating the helicarrier because they won't have enough characters to do it, so it'll come down to very likely you scrabbling for points at the end. It's at this point that if you have the easy shield teams in slots 1 to 3, and the enemy team actually don't have a lot of characters remaining. They've only got weak characters remaining. They can then go back to the top of your helicarrier and start working through your shield teams and getting some very easy points for them, because you get a point for every character you defeat, meaning if you defeat an easy shield team, that is 5 points, and over time that does actually all add up. So what I would actually recommend to do in the majority of your rooms, if not all of them, is actually have slots 1 to 3 with strong defensive teams. It means the enemy team can't actually see what they're going into, but it means you're not giving them any easy points for later on in the match as well. There is of course a balance between offence and defence, but I would say this is most definitely worth doing. Following on directly from the last tip, we actually look at the importance of making sure that when you send in a team to attack, that you're using a similar power team. Yesterday, in our particular war, the alliance we were going up against, checking the battle logs on occasion, we would maybe have a team at 50,000 power, and they would actually send in a team at 220,000 power to fight them, which is a complete waste, so you don't want to do that. Also with this, and this is really important, when you get to the end of the match and you've got the shield rooms to clear up, there's quite a lot of solo characters that can actually do it. Now these characters, they need to be around about 25,000 power. If you want to test them out in a very similar node to the solo shield one, then go into Nexus 3.5, you go up against shield and the power levels are very similar, and I've actually tested all these here that you can see on screen. So these characters work well for various different reasons. Generally it's due to their sustain, but you have Black Panther with all these chains, you've got Captain Marvel, Carnage and Drax with their sustain, you've got the chains in Gamora, you've then got more sustain via Killmonger, Mantis, Mordo. Nebula can be a right pain due to the evades and the speed up she has. Nobu calls in very strong summons at the start of the match that around about 25,000 power you will be able to one-shot the shield team. Then you've got Storm with her double AoE, and then you also have Venom and Wolverine with their sustain as well. And these all are generally characters that you won't really be using in either your defensive teams or even your offensive teams. This for me, if I was to probably rank the tips, would be one of my top tips, so make sure you do follow this particular one. The next tip we have here is one that's probably pretty obvious, but I feel it's one that is worthwhile pointing out. It's the importance of making sure that you actually defend high priority rooms. Now what are high priority rooms? So we have an infographic on the screen at the moment. I'm not actually sure who's made it because an alliance mate shared it with myself. I can't find the original, so if you did actually make this, then let me know in the comments below and I'll certainly look to pin your post to give you credit for it. But this here breaks down the high importance room, and it's really your rooms that have global buffs and your rooms that when you defeat them, they actually give the enemy team a lot of points. So you've got low, medium and high priority. Now how would you actually defend those particular rooms? This is down to personal preference, but for me, I would say when it comes to a low priority room, you want to put defensive teams, and that's relatively strong defensive teams, in slots 1 to 3 and then slot 8. This way the enemy team doesn't know what they're going into. When it comes to medium teams, I would put strong defensive teams in slots 1 to 3 and then slots 6 to 8, so you're finishing off the end of the actual room where they may struggle a little bit. And then finally for your high priority rooms, that's the likes of the armory and the barracks with their global buffs, and it includes the bridge as well, really, with the 200 points. But for your high priority rooms, I would say that you want to go all out and you actually want to dedicate some team members to just throw in all their best teams into all 8 slots. But do make sure that they go by the previous tip we've covered, where they don't put in the characters that can solo rooms later on in the match. That's something very important you need to be aware of as well, even if you are going all defense. So that's the priority of the rooms. Let's check out the next tip. Sadly then, AIM aren't the new meta, however when it does come to Alliance Wars, all characters in your roster are now important. The reason for that is the more offensive characters you have that you can actually use, the more you can actually place in defence and then have characters that can still go on offence for you. They don't have to be necessarily high, because again, falling back on a point we've mentioned several times, at the end of the actual match when you're scrabbling for points you can use some of your weaker characters. So that's with the likes of AIM that you maybe previously had them at level 1. I would say at this point you want to start leveling them up. Now if you can, this is just a figure off the top of my head and I wouldn't say you have to go by gospel or anything like that, but personally I'm going to try and pull all my characters up to round about level 50, which costs round about 700,000 gold, which when you look at how much gold we get daily now, which is round about 600,000, it's really not too bad at all. But I'll pull them up to round about level 50, and that should give them power levels of round about 25,000, meaning some of my weaker teams will then be coming out at around about 125,000 in regards to their power, meaning they can take on some nodes that I previously wouldn't attack. Now if you are looking to do this, then do make sure you're covering one of the first tips we actually looked at today, and that was going into the Blitzstorm buying the war refreshes, because as mentioned that will take the total number of matches you can do per war from 8 up to 12, and that's with these extra teams with characters that you wouldn't normally level will certainly come in a lot more helpful. Alliance Wars then, and the key to actually winning matches is all about finding the right balance. That can be the balance between offense and defense, it can be the balance between going all out at the start of an actual war or maybe playing the long game, and that's what we've done today. We played the long game and it paid off for us. Now in regards to playing the long game, this ties in with the defensive boost that you're buying from the Blitz store and also the war energy as well. Now the temptation will be there at the start of a match if you have additional war energy to actually go in and just use it straight away and try and burn down some of the easier shield teams, or try and go into the mix room straight away. Now it could turn out that you do that and it really helps you. Then you get to the end of the actual Alliance War and it turns out you beat the opposing team by 500 points, something like that. So you've actually wasted the war credits because they weren't really needed in the first instance. So what I would say is be conservative in regards to spending your defensive boosts and also your war credits, and I would try and stockpile them for when you have a match when it's really pretty close and it looks like you need that extra push at the end. I will mention outside of this though, if you do find a global buff room, they can really change a match if you can take them down. So on occasion you will want to use your war energy in a global buff room so you can actually take it down early on in the match, because that really can be a game changer. But other than that, do be careful, don't get too excited, and don't go using all your energy on the flight deck like I actually done the first war that we ran. At the start of a new war match then, one of the things you want to do is actually seek out the enemy priority rooms as soon as possible. That's the rooms that offer the global buffs, the likes of the barracks and the armory. You want to take them out ASAP. Now in order to explore the helicarrier as quickly as you actually can, it doesn't really make sense to always defeat two teams in an entire room. Pick a lane, take out a particular player in that lane and then work your way down as quickly as you can. If you then find the global buff room, then by all means take it out, and then from there it will allow you to go left or right, or if it's at either side then it allows you to move into the middle and actually explore that and start working your way down from there. As time goes on, of course, you will start to clear the rooms for the 50 points, but at the start of the map try and get it explored as quickly as possible, and the best way to do that is to focus on individual players. After one day and only one instance of playing war because I wasn't part of the beta, this is all that I'm actually able to come up with so far now. Of course, top 9 is mentioned in the title there. Doesn't sound good at all, so I had to go for the top 10. So what is my top 10 closing tip? Subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, there'll be lots more Alliance War strategy videos coming in the near future, so hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, feel free to share this video, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again soon.